Too Close to Call is a sports talk radio show brought to you by Kevin Mahalik, featuring commentary on the week's biggest sports news and events and engaging behind-the-scenes player interviews. While specializing in Philadelphia sports, Too Close to Call will also discuss issues and events happening on a national scale. Too Close to Call airs Tuesday from 1 to 2 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m.
Rolled up, and I got all this drink rolled up. I bought all these bottles up in this club. Came here with all my dogs, but I'm trying to leave it you and your friends. Yeah.
Aloha and hello out there, everybody. What's going on? It's Kevin Mahalik, your host, as always, of Too Close to Call here on USALA Media and USALA Radio. It is just past the 1 o'clock hour here on Tuesday, October 22nd, and the weather outside is reflecting the vibes of the city out there today. We got ourselves a cloudy, rainy, gloomy day where nobody wants to do anything whatsoever. We're still in a funk from Sunday night because we're trying to figure out what the heck's going on with our football team here in Philadelphia. But we're going to wait on that, guys. We're going to pause. We're going to allow myself to have a little bit of fun for this hour before I get into yet another half hour or so of Eagles talk where it's just bashing everybody and we're trying to figure out what the heck's going on down there at the NovaCare complex. So we're going to start out on a nice light note here. I'm going to thank you guys once again for tuning in. We are live on YouTube under USALA Media. If you guys are listening to us just via the website or the app on your iPhone, USALA Media, do me a favor, double click, get back to the home screen for me real quick, hit that YouTube button, type in USALA, that's USALA Media, into the search bar, and then you'll see me up there, Too Close to Call Live with Kevin Mahalik. So we got ourselves a brand new background back here, looking mighty fine. The skyline of Philadelphia coming in nice. It's beautiful in the evening. So why don't you guys click over there, get yourself a look at my pretty face as well as the recent upgrades we got back here in the studio. So like I said, we're going to start out light. We're going to start out with a little bit of baseball, America's pastime. It is October, and it is officially the World Series. So shout out to the Houston Astros and friend of the show and friend of the podcast as well, Ryan Presley. We've had him on, had an interview run with him maybe about 2 months ago now at this point. If you guys haven't checked that out, please go back and look. But just want to, round of applause for Ryan, because if you guys were following along in the games there, he was the gentleman who, in Game 6, threw one pitch, had to field a ground ball, got out of a bases-loaded jam, but had some scar tissue break off in his knee that he had just prepared. He had a meniscus surgery, came back in about 4 weeks when recovery's 4 to 6. It's been about kind of 6-7 weeks now, so to speak, but apparently scar tissue just breaks off. You don't know when it's going to happen. It's just a normal thing that happens with surgery. I was talking to a few other people within the sports world who have had the issue, and one of them told me his scar tissue broke off when he was walking down the stairs in the morning. He literally was going down for breakfast and just cracked, like the knee buckled, and he thought he was done again. They get to the doctors there today at the facilities. He said, no, it's just scar tissue. You should be fine. It's just, I guess, part of it hardens and then eventually just cracks off and disintegrates. They don't have to go in and get it or anything like that. It's just kind of, like a scar almost that peels off your skin. Very, very similar, but underneath the surface of your skin. So live during Game 6, it did not look good for Ryan, but fortunately those tests afterwards, I do think he had an MRI. I can't remember off the top of my head now after talking to him. We were enjoying ourselves. It was about 2:30 in the morning. They had just clinched to get to the World Series. So he was covered in champagne and probably not all there, but it was a good conversation. And the other team I don't want to congratulate, but obviously have to mention, is the Washington Nationals. So, ladies and gentlemen, some people are saying, I can't believe the Nationals made it this far. They were a wild card team, but I was doing a little bit of research, and since the Nationals bottomed out, when I think they were 19-30 at one point in the month of May, people were talking about firing the manager and things were just not good. Well, literally since that date, the Astros have the best record in baseball at, I think, 78-34. before, and the Nationals were literally a game behind at 77-35 or something like that. I'm sure I'm off a couple of digits, but you get it out there. You guys understand that for the past 3 months, they went Astros, Nationals, Yankees, and the Dodgers were tied with the Yankees right there. So they were clearly one of the 4 best teams in all of baseball. So this should not be a surprise for the common fan out there who's going, really, a wild card team? So it just reiterates the point I made last year out there, or last week, was that offense wins in the regular season and gets you to the playoffs, but pitching wins in the postseason. And just look at the pitching matchups of this series. You got Cole and Scherzer going game 1, National League Cy Young winner last year, soon to be, in my opinion, between him and Verlander, but it's Cole in the American League to win the Cy Young this year. So those are 2 of the top pitchers in the game. And even if you go a step further, you have Verlander and Steven Strasburg going to go at it in game 2, and those are 2 more of the top 10 pitchers in baseball. And then your 3s are Zach Greinke and Patrick Corbin. I mean, guys, it's pretty simple to see. You need the arms, and you need the starters, because with the off days in the playoffs, these bullpen pieces can throw almost every game because 2 in a row, off day. Now, the only 3 middle ones are tough, but typically you get somebody else to run out there. So you need the starters, you need the arms. The Phillies are a ways away. But Astros, Nationals, I think the Astros are just a little bit deeper as a team. So I think they outlast the Nationals in this series, kind of similar to the Yankees. There's just not many easy outs in that Astros lineup. And over the course of 6 games, they just beat you until finally they pop one and get themselves a lead, because they won the ALCS based on the home run ball. I think it was 179. I didn't write that one down, but I did read it. With runners in scoring position, but like 3 out of the 5 hits were home runs, and 2 out of the 3 were 3-run homers. And you win ball games scoring 6 runs a game. So I'm going Astros in 6. Once again, shout out Ryan Presley, who is going to be on the World Series roster. That was to be determined there, but that came out today. He did make it, so he is going to pitch. So everybody out there watching, keep an eye on number 55, Presley for the Astros, and you can say, hey, I heard that guy on 2Close2Call. That's pretty cool. And if you only heard him that one time, head over to iTunes, Apple Podcasts, 2Close2Call, hundreds of backlogged episodes on there for you guys to check out, both these radio shows here at USALA Media as well as additional episodes. And I did speak with Ryan in 2 other additional episodes prior to joining the USALA Media team here. So if you want to hear those backlogged episodes, head over to 2Close2Call and you can hear about his upcoming through the minors and then him breaking into the major leagues as well. Some good conversations, but parlaying this into the Phillies, just kind of wrapping up a quick first segment here talking baseball. I know, guys, the Phillies aren't giving us a lot to discuss in regards to new material this week. We're literally just one step further in the process than we were last week. It's the same 3 names. It's Dusty Baker, Buck Showalter, and Joe Girardi. The only recent updates are, all 3 of them did their second interviews Thursday, Friday, and then this Monday. And there's some murmurs coming out in the front office that Klentak and it's not Middleton. I forgot. Oh, God, who is it? I should know. But it's essentially Klentak that wants Buck Showalter in the building because of his time in Baltimore and their overlapping experience. Oh, it's McPhail, Andy McPhail. That's the other name I was trying to think of. Gee, so thank you to the person that commented out there that let me know. So Andy McPhail, Mac Klentak want Buck Showalter. Middleton, the owner, and all of Philadelphia and the fans seem to want Joe Girardi. And at the end of the day, it's Middleton making the decision because Klentak didn't want Kapler gone, and Middleton said, we got to move on. So that's where I tend to think it's leaning towards Joe Girardi. And I think it would be a slam dunk, except for the fact that Joe Girardi, in my opinion, I think he wants the Mets job. I don't have any reports, any sources I've talked to that have told me that specifically. I know he's going to get either the Mets or the Phillies job. There's no way the Phillies pass on him if the Mets do. But think about it, guys. I mean, at the end of the day, the Mets and the Phillies, which manager job is more appealing? Because that's kind of what Joe's looking at. Well, first of all, he's originally from the New York metro area, obviously managed the Yankees for 8-10 years, won a World Series there, and has the vibes of New York to him. But the Philadelphia not being far away, people obviously make that connection, and I don't think that the travel or distance would be an issue. Personally, I think it's personnel on the baseball team. The New York Mets are set up a hell of a lot better for the future than the Phillies are. If you look at the Mets just on the mound, I know Zach Wheeler's a free agent, but could bring him back. You also got Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard. I mean, they have the horses right there that the Phillies can't compete with whatsoever, both on paper and just everything you've seen with the eye test, clearly superior to the Phillies pitching staff. And then when it comes to a lineup, Philadelphia, yes, they have Real Muto, who hopefully they re-sign. They don't know yet. Bryce Harper for a long period of time. You thought Rhys Hoskins, based on his second half last year, maybe not anymore. TBD on that one. But clear as day in New York, you got Pete Alonso, who was Rookie of the Year, broke the rookie home run record. I think he had 55 home runs or whatever it was. Jeff McNeil, Michael Conforto. They have a few more building blocks already in place than the Phillies do. However, the Phillies have shown that they're willing to spend the money, and the New York Mets have not. That is the one knock on the Mets and their ownership, and is this: they won't spend the big dollars to compete. And when you're in a metro market such as New York City, that can be very demanding, and obviously competing with the Yankees for fanship, viewership, ticketship, whatever the heck you want to call it, you got to put a product out on the field that's going to compete with 103 wins on the American League side. So you have to spend the money. And that's where I think Joe Girardi, it's come out here today on Tuesday that he's in New York for his second interview today. However, the Mets still have a few more second interviews scheduled for the rest of the week, as to the point where the Phillies do not. So the Phillies are already through their process, it seems, and the Mets will be through it this week. So now it's a matter of, can the Phillies give Girardi an offer that makes him accept it right here without waiting for the Mets to finish their process with additional candidates? I think Eduardo Perez, your ESPN personality, former players interviewing, and Carlos Beltran I've heard up there as well. So that's where we're at with the Phillies. Every fan I've talked to, every poll you look at wants Girardi in the building. I'm one of those as well. I do think Showalter's second place, with Clentac, McPhail, and those guys. But Middleton, I think, recognizes the power of the name in Joe Girardi and the positive reception and reaction that they will have into next year. And I think that weighs on the owner, because people were just turned off by Gabe Kapler, whether he was a good manager or not. I'm not going to argue with it, because I actually think he was a good baseball manager. I just don't think he handled the media well. I don't think he presented himself as a person or a personality very well for the Philadelphia market, and it just didn't work. And it's one of those things, and I commend them for moving on, or I guess I commend Middleton for ultimately making that decision. And like I said, if it's his decision, we're looking at Girardi. And if money's an option or an obstacle, I don't think it's going to matter here for Philadelphia. I think they're going to pay, because literally, look at it, guys. Managers make $3, $4, $5 million bucks. That's a middle of reliever. Okay, if you got to give the guy $6 million instead of $4 million, just do it, instead of having a $2 million reliever who stinks anyway. So, but World Series Game 1 starts tonight, Game 2 tomorrow. We should have a winner by the time we're on next Tuesday to discuss here, and hopefully we'll have a Phillies manager to talk about, and not just kind of where we're at in the process of selecting said manager. So, like I mentioned, quick first segment here at USALA Media, just talking baseball. I wanted to kind of roll through it. Not a lot to discuss, so I'm not going to babble too long, waste your time. We're going to take a quick commercial break here for a word from one of our sponsors. Hang with us for the next minute or so, and on the flip side, we're going to talk winter sports, Sixers basketball, Flyers hockey. Hang with us.
Designs for Different Futures, now open at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Discover provocative ideas that respond to human civilization's future needs, desires, and fears. Explore how we might communicate with extraterrestrials, produce steak from human cells, get intimate with strangers, and edit our own genetics. Is the future apocalyptic or utopian? You decide. Designs for Different Futures. For tickets and more information, go to philamuseum.org.
And welcome back, everybody, to the next segment here of Too Close to Call, your sports talk radio station here at USALA Media and USALA Radio. If you guys are listening to us out there on the website or the app, do me a favor, head over to YouTube. That way you can see my hot dance moves here in the studio during the commercial breaks and right now, because if you can't see it, you're missing out there. basically, is what I'm trying to tell you. So do that for me. Hit subscribe. That way you'll be alerted when I'm coming on live every Tuesday, as well as head over to Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. Too Close to Call, the number 2 both times. USALA Media Radio Show will be posted there, as well as additional episodes like we talked about based on what's going on out there in not only the sports world, but we're dabbling in entertainment as well. So check that out. But this segment here, we're talking Sixers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Sixers. Bow, bow, bow. 10, 9, 8, 76ers. Let's go, Dylan. Let's go. For the first time, we may win the title, baby. Let's go. That's it. Title or bust. Next segment. Go. No, no, that's it. And cut. Scene. So, but no, the Sixers open up tomorrow night, guys. Wednesday night, they get the Celtics at home. Obviously a huge game. The Boston Celtics are in town. We got the Al Horford connection. We got the Eastern connection. We don't like them. They don't like us. First game. What the heck? New people, new team. It's all crazy. What's going to happen? So the excitement is fantastic. Obviously, here in the city of Philadelphia, everybody is looking forward now more so than even as of Saturday to basketball season, based on, once again, that football performance on Sunday. We're looking very much forward to the Sixers team getting on the hardwood and making us feel good about ourselves here in Philadelphia. But like I said, Wednesday versus Celtics, Saturday at the Pistons, Monday at the Hawks. I did look, guys, even a little bit further. I like to take it week by week here because obviously we talk on Tuesdays, so we can, kind of break and touch base here. But 6 out of the first 8 games on the road for the Sixers. That's tough, whoever you are. And similar to the Birds, they're playing their 4th road game here, or 5th road game, I forget. But just a lot of time away from home, obviously. That can wear on you and a younger basketball team who may not know how to handle the travel of an NBA season compared to college. Obviously these kids in college, you travel once, you go home, you go back to class. Well, in the NBA, you're going from hotel to hotel, one night only sometimes. So unpack and repack and trying to figure everything out and then play a basketball game can be a little bit tough. But that's where I do think the addition of Al Horford will offset, the leadership they lost. And I pause before I say this, but from Jimmy Butler, because people have mixed reviews on his personality and leadership tendencies and things along those lines in the locker room. But honestly, guys, if you look at the playoffs, he was the leader on the team. He was the big boy. He was the guy everybody kind of looked to when they needed a bucket, needed a stop. He was the guy that said, are we going to be okay? And based on his actions, it was like, yeah, guys, we're going to be fine. We've done this before. Nobody panic. So Al Horford is that guy, obviously, with his past winning national championships at the University of Florida during his time there in college basketball, as well as in Boston and Atlanta for years. I think he was before that, but particularly in Boston, the success he's had there. So ultimately, big picture, guys, for the Sixers, just kind of a yearly preview, so to speak. I don't really like to get into the bold predictions or, things like that here on USALA Radio. We do a little bit of that stuff on the side on the extra podcast we do because there's a little more time to kind of ramble and give your thoughts. But just a few things I wanted to discuss with you guys out there, kind of get your thoughts. Let us know in the comments section here on Facebook as well as YouTube what you're thinking. But it's a 2-team race in the East, guys. Last year with Kawhi Leonard in Toronto, him obviously moving on out west with the Clippers, I think that leaves the Milwaukee Bucks and the Philadelphia 76ers as really the only 2 teams out there who have a legitimate chance to win the East if everybody remains healthy. Obviously, that's the asterisk on any of these early season predictions. You're doing it based on everybody playing. So if the Sixers are completely healthy, and that's even Embiid playing 55, 60 games, I'm not talking all 82. If Simmons stays healthy, he plays in more like 80 games. They don't lose any rookies to the redshirt year that they try to do with the Sixers based on injury. But those 2 teams really on paper are the 2 teams to beat. Toronto takes a step back. Milwaukee was right there as the 2. The Sixers were right there as the 3-4. So that's really what you're looking at. And the teams like Boston and Washington and a couple other guys, Toronto, are a little bit right below those guys when it comes to kind of the tiered approach looking at the NBA teams in general. So I think the Sixers, I'd probably put them as the favorite in the East. Just my own personal opinion, at least with my head, at least with my heart. My head is telling me Milwaukee's the safe bet until, the Sixers beat them and Embiid plays those games. Go with the MVP and go with Giannis. So those two should be 1-2 and ultimately meet in the Eastern Finals to see who goes to the NBA Finals. And like we just boasted a little bit earlier, if they don't make the NBA Finals, I think that's a disappointment for the Philadelphia Sixers this year, for sure. So a few other concerns kind of heading into the year. I know everybody's feeling good. We got these new guys. We love our starting five. We're deeper defense, but I like to kind of look at a little bit of the nitty gritty and see where maybe we were wrong. Maybe the Eagles stink. Maybe they aren't good. Kind of take that aspect and that look for just a brief second, guys. Okay. Don't kill me out there on Twitter or Facebook. Don't kill me. I'm just saying this could happen. So looking at some usage from last year, but J.J. Redick was number one in the NBA in handoff usage. So essentially, Embiid dribbles over, he kind of sets the screen as he hands the ball off. J.J. would come around, usually hit a three, or he drives, they run the pick and roll with Embiid. And that's if he's number one in the NBA, that's clearly a big part of your offense. So you're going to have to come up with basically the biggest part of your offense. I don't know how else to say it, but I don't know if you can just plug and play Josh Richardson into that scenario, I guess is what I'm getting at. You're not going to continue to run the same play with different talent. So the Sixers offense is going to look very, very different this year, guys. What you're going to see a lot of plays you didn't see, last year and the year previous, just because the personnel is slightly different. So JJ in the handoffs, they have Josh Richardson filling that mold. He can't shoot it quite as well as JJ, but he is more athletic off the dribble. So there is positives, obviously, to Richardson as opposed to Redick, but as well as negatives. So hopefully the positives outweigh the negative, but again, they may not. So, take that with a grain of salt. And one other issue I saw was the pick and roll and isolation. Those two, again, one was JJ Redick and the other was Jimmy Butler, used almost exclusively in the pick and roll. And then Jimmy in the playoffs, obviously, he was the isolation guy. When they needed to go one-on-one, you run the pick and roll until you get the defender on the offensive guy you want. We saw it time and time again with JJ defensively last year. They would, run screens so he would be on the best player, JJ on Kawhi or whatever they tried to do. But that's what they're going to need to do offensively. They're going to need to find the usage and the balance between Ben Simmons, Josh Richardson, and Tobias Harris. Those three are going to have to kind of fill the void left by JJ and Jimmy Butler. So I think they can do it. I think they have more options offensively. There's just another big picture concern is, the Sixers are going heavy, not heavy, but they're going tall and defense. And the NBA seems to go more offense and speed. So it really is. I think Elton Brand built this team to win in the playoffs. I'm not sure Elton Brand built this team to win over the course of 82 regular season games. And now that we've made the playoffs back-to-back years, we can understand as a fan base that the game does change once you make the playoffs. And the biggest reason for that is because the guys actually try to play defense, as elementary as that is. They actually compete hard on the defensive side of the ball. So it also turns into a much more half-court offense, a lot less transition baskets because guys are hustling back on defense and every point matters. So Ben Simmons was kind of eliminated from the game when that was the case because he's most effective in transition and getting downhill and gaining a head of steam, so to speak. So we'll get to that, obviously, in June when we get there. Right now, I just need Ben Simmons shooting a rock. I need him shooting some threes, whether they go in or not. I got to see him shoot them, put them up. Josh Richardson, kind of get your feel. I think he may struggle a little bit early. Same with Tobias Harris, finding their positioning. It's going to be interesting to see the rotations for Brett Brown early in the year, who he's given extended minutes to, who he's not, who's playing with who. A lot of things to figure out, but talent is not an issue on this year's team, even off the bench. Last year, we had some problems with the talent, but this year, Mike Scott coming back, Matthias Thybulle being the sixth man, defensively being a maniac in the preseason, all the steals, deflections, blocks, everything along those lines. So looking forward to hoops, man, for sure. Like I said, tomorrow night versus Celtics, at the Pistons, at the Hawks. Got to be at the very least 2-1. Obviously, in my eyes, you got to be 3-0 because the Pistons and Hawks should be W's. It's just a matter of that Celtics game and Brad Stevens coming in here with a good squad. So don't get me wrong there. It's not that Boston stinks. I just think, obviously, the Sixers have a little bit of superior talent there. Sorry for the brief pause for you guys listening out there on the radio. Just took a sip of water there after a little bit of a ramble. But we'll wrap up this second segment here with a few minutes on the Philadelphia Flyers. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a Flyers fan out there and you belong to some of these Facebook groups that I'm in and you comment on, please relax, okay? It's not football. There's not 16 games, ladies and gentlemen. There's 82 of them, and they're going to throw up a stinker occasionally, okay? And it's not only just what's happening on the scoreboard, because in football with 16, win or lose, there's 16. You got to win the football game, even if you look ugly. In hockey, you can have some of those moral victories where you drove play, you outplayed the other team, you actually looked better offensively, and you just don't score because the other team's goalie is playing insane or making ridiculous saves. And that really manifested itself this past week with this Flyers team. I mean, just briefly, I'll run through. I'm sure you guys know. But 3 straight losses to the Flames, Oilers, and Stars, which took the overall loss streak to 4 games with the overtime loss right before those, before yesterday's or last night's bounce-back win against Vegas to ultimately get them to 3-3-1. So 7 games in, we're right at 500. It's not the slowest start. So I said you can't get off to a slow start. They haven't. I'll give them that. It's not a slow start. It's kind of like the Birds, as average as you can get, baby. And the Phils. How about that, Dylan? The Phils. What were they, 80 and 82 or 81 and 81? Literally right on. The Eagles are going to be 500. Right now the Flyers are 500. It's all up to the Sixers, man. That's just insane how all these teams are literally the definition of mediocrity. Like, hey, average 500? Yeah. Philadelphia. That's what you're seeing right now in the dictionary. But back to the Flyers, 3-3-1. And these Facebook groups kind of, the main culprit tends to be Carter Hart. Okay? Carter Hart threw up a stinker. And I told you guys he would. So if you guys out there comment on Facebook and don't listen to the radio show, please do. Because we saw this after their game against Lasagna. I know it's not that, but it's a Chinese or Czech Republic. No, it wasn't Chinese. It was a Czech Republic team. And Hart stank. He was awful. It was one of those games where he was just bad. And that showed me that, yes, he's 20 years old. I talked about last week how technically sound he is, how physically he's in position all the time. But you're just going to get a stinker from him. It's the way it's going to work. He's not going to be one of those guys that he's going to be more 3 fantastic, 1 horrible than 4 above average in a row. And yes, you want to try to eliminate or have the most games in between those stinkers, so to speak, as I'm eloquently putting it here on 2Close2Call. But it's going to happen. It's just trying to, few and far between with those. Try to distance the bad ones with more good ones as the year progresses. And he hasn't even played a full season yet, guys. He came up in the middle of last year. So let him find his footing. He's going to be okay. And the better way to look at it, guys, is not, Elliott's got to play instead of Hart, is thank God we have 2 goalies now, okay? Like, Hart is the guy. Hart's going to play 60 games. He's who we're going with. We're going to ride or die because Brian Elliott is not the future, and this team is right now not going to win the Stanley Cup with Brian Elliott. So even if he does light it up, he shouldn't play more than 20 games because Hart needs the ice time. So that's the end of the day talk right there. So Hart's going to play whether he's good or bad because he needs to, and he's not going to be up here to sit the bench. But ultimately, Elliott's in a perfect spot, guys. He's good. He's a good NHL goaltender, except for when you run him into the ground. I think it was December of 2017, so the middle of 2 years ago. He literally started every game in the month. And then got hurt like the first day the next month. Like, yeah, duh. The guy's like 35, man. He can't play 12 games in a row. So continue to balance, continue Hart and Elliott. And now you have confidence that your backup goaltender, you can actually go out and win the hockey game. Instead of, oh, man, we're going to have to play perfect hockey in front of this guy to have a chance tonight. It's, hey, we can honestly not even play that great, and this guy's going to keep us in the hockey game because that's what happened last night. It truly was remarkable, and it basically spoke to the fact that hockey's just a stupid sport and the fact that the Flyers played one of their worst periods out of the last 3 games in the second period last night, and they scored 4 goals. They won the period 4-0. They were literally out shooting their opponents the previous 2 games. I think it was like 100-70 or something like that, like clearly driving play and out shooting their opponents, and they lost by a total of 10-4. And then last night, first period, very good again, up 1-0. Second period, up and down. Elliott made a few heck of a saves, but on the other end, the puck goes in the net, and it's 5-0. You're, oh, there it is. Yeah, they're finally playing good. And it's like, guys, if you're really looking at it, they really kind of struggled that time, except for the other goalie just couldn't get in the way of the puck. So that's why goaltending is such a key in hockey, because they really can steal you games, as well as you just have to continue to kind of beat the drum and kind of pound offensively. And if you continue to drive play and win battles along the boards and win faceoffs in the offensive zone and continue to generate power plays for your special teams units, eventually the puck's going to find the net and you're going to win hockey games. So it's been a 3-3-1 start, but all of the underlying metrics, all of the advanced statistics say the Flyers have played like a better team than their record. And again, that's good this early in the season, guys. Okay, yes, we would want the record to reflect the play, but ultimately those pucks are going to go in. People are going to learn how to finish. People are going to continue to get more and more comfortable in Coach Alain Vigneault's system and drive play. And if you're spending more time in the opponent's zone than your own, just generally overall speaking, you're going to win more games than you lose. I think that should make sense to pretty much everybody out there. And it is as silly as one of those where you could spend 5 minutes down there, they get one rush, come down, the puck's in the back of your net, and you're down 1-0. That's the sport of hockey. That's what makes it beautiful. You just go back down and you keep pounding for 5 more minutes and try to tie it up. But a few standouts individually and a few roster moves before Monday. You guys know by now, obviously, they called up a few kids. Joel Farabee, or Joel. I think it's Joel Embiid and Joel Farabee, spelled the same way, but that'll probably slip me up here all freaking winter as we're walking through, winter sports, Sixers and Flyers. But Farabee called up, Vorobiev called up, Giroux moved to center, worked for the first game. I don't know how long-term I want Giroux at center. I think he's more effective as a wing with this age and kind of his ability, right now as a guy in his early 30s, but he's your best option at center with Nolan Patrick still out with some head issues and migraines and things like that. But Travis Konechny and Oscar Lindblom, clearly the two best players on this team. TK, 10 points in 7 games. I think it was 6 goals already. Lindblom was 6 points in 7 games. So we'll see. Those guys need to continue to progress. They're younger guys who are developing, so that's certainly a good omen moving forward. But 3 games next week for the Flyers, just like the Sixers. Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, another back-to-back for them before we talk again next Tuesday. Couple of road games. How about that? 2 road games and a home game for both winter sports this week. But at Chicago versus Columbus, at the Islanders. Like I said, we're going to see Elliott once, Hart twice. We'll see Elliott during one of those back-to-backs. Just a matter of if it's Columbus or the Islanders, whatever that matchup is. But that does it here for the second segment of Too Close to Call, USALA Media, USALA Radio. I'm your host, Kevin Mahalik. We are talking Philadelphia sports here on this Tuesday, just past 1:30 on Tuesday, October 22nd. I appreciate you guys listening out there. Hang with us through one more commercial break from our sponsors. We like to keep them happy. On the last segment here, though, if you guys have the stomach, come back. We'll talk some football. We'll talk birds. Stick with us.
Tryna leave with you and your friends.
Designs for Different Futures, now open at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Discover provocative ideas that respond to human civilization's future needs, desires, and fears. Explore how we might communicate with extraterrestrials, produce steak from human cells, get intimate with strangers, and edit our own genetics. Is the future apocalyptic or utopian? You decide. Designs for Different Futures. For tickets and more information, go to philamuseum.org.
What's going on, everybody out there? This is your host of Too Close to Call, the sports talk radio station here at USALA Media and USALA Radio. I am Kevin Mahalik, and this is the third and final segment here of Too Close to Call. It is just past 1:30, coming up on 1:35 here, and it is a gloomy day out in the city of Philadelphia, if that's where you're listening. Do me one quick favor. I know I ask you often, but head to Apple Podcasts, Too Close to Call, rate and review the podcast. They go a long way. If you guys give me a new review and put some stuff on there, heck, I'll read you out here on the show. We'll let you guys know, giving some feedback, and we'll have ourselves like a mailbag kind of take or segment, so to speak. But we're back here, and we're talking football. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you guys out there for listening to me, because this half hour, 25 minutes has really turned into like a therapy session for me. I really need to see somebody to talk about the Eagles. You can't just flush it away. It's one of those things you need to talk about. Come in, we're going to talk about it. We're going to have a parent-teacher conference. We're going to talk about it. Sit down, because that's where we're at. Like last week, I talked about how I was more disappointed than angry. I don't know what the adjective is to describe where I am now. Like, how do you disappoint disappointment? You know, and I don't know. I'm disappointed squared here. What's going on? Because basically, the Eagles have no identity as a football team. Now, we all know what happened on Sunday. I'm not going to kind of rehash every breakdown of play-by-plays or ripping into people. There'll be a few individuals that we may discuss in a little bit more detail, but overall, big picture as a football team, to start this, they have no identity. And for those of you who don't understand kind of what I'm referencing, is that as a football team, basketball team, baseball team, every team needs an identity. And that is something that how can I explain it, that they're known for, or that they can go to in times of peril, or, you know, old faithful, so to speak. Like if you're having a conversation, you know, me and Dylan are sitting at the bar and we're going, hey, you know, the Eagles, or you know, Dylan's a fan of another team. Hey, what are the Eagles good at? What are they known for? Run defense until Sunday when they give up like $150 to Ezekiel Elliott. So maybe not anymore. Okay, that's not a good answer. Let me keep thinking. Well, their pass defense is terrible. Their offensive line. No, wait, that was god awful on Sunday too. Lane Johnson played the worst game of his career. We got a rookie left tackle who's not great. Yeah, and then they don't run the ball great, and you know Wentz is 20th in passing offense for the NFL, and they're not good at anything. So that's what I'm saying. Like that's basically the conversation you have with yourself mentally when trying to figure out the identity of this team. Is okay, shit's hitting the fan. Excuse my French. Where do we go from here? What do we do? We need to get back to basics. That's a coaching hot term you hear. Okay, back to fundamentals, back to basics, back to what we do well. We don't know what you do well. We don't know, the Eagles don't do anything well. It's been over 2 years now, and I'll probably catch some flack for this because the golden child, Carson Wentz, you know, God forbid you say he needs to improve or he stinks on social media, and, you know, hell have no fury, like upset people on social media coming at you for a hot Carson Wentz take. But, ladies and gentlemen, the guy's been average at best, and this is coming from a former quarterback who, yes, Carson Wentz has every skill in the book. He checks every box on paper. He's got every skill physically, size, speed, decision-making. He hasn't been turning the football over a lot, but there's just something about him as a football player and that we've seen outside of, once again, a 10-week, 12-week stretch in 2017, which as time continues to elapse here, looks more and more like the outlier and not the constant. Is that he's okay in the win-loss column? Oh, yeah, he's got no help on the outside. He's got no receivers. They can't protect him. Guys, 2017 and the end of 2018, and I'm not getting into this debate. Okay, guys, I'm not getting into this debate. But the offense with Nick Foles playing quarterback had the same people on the outside at the end of last year, as well as in the Super Bowl of 2017. If you look back, you're telling me Steve Smith made that much of a difference for that Super Bowl run with these talent? We had Jeffrey, we had Ertz, we had Aguilar. It's the same cast of characters, guys. So I'm not getting into the Wentz-Foles debate. All I'm saying is with these weapons, we've seen this offense work. And that's where I have trouble staying out of the debate because you go, okay, so the weapons are the same. What else is different? Well, the head coach is the same. Okay, what else is different? Well, the offensive line's the same. Okay, what else is different? Well, the only thing different is the quarterback. Uh-oh. Not good. And again, I think Carson Wentz is a better football player than Nick Foles. I just think Carson Wentz needs to understand how to be a quarterback in the National Football League for a team such as the Philadelphia Eagles. Because in college, you know, I don't know if there's anything to this, but I was thinking a little bit about it Sunday as I was watching Dak Prescott kind of, you know, mop the floor with the Eagles as a team. And Wentz went to North Dakota State, okay? Dak Prescott went to Mississippi State. Now, Not, top 10 Mississippi State, but SEC Mississippi State that plays big-time college football week after week after week in hostile environment, week after week after week on national television, week after week after week. This is nothing new to Dak Prescott being the quarterback, even of the Cowboys, and getting all this pressure put on him. That is not new to him. And Carson Wentz coming from a small market in North Dakota. Now, yes, I understand North Dakota State is the, state university for North Dakota, such as Penn State is here for Pennsylvania. That is their team, so they do get a crowd. But guys, it's not 100,000 at a whiteout. It's not the Horseshoe. It's not the Big House. He's playing the Jackrabbits of South Dakota State. Shout out College Game Day. They're actually going there this Saturday, so you'll be, the Jackrabbits? Kev actually knew that. Yeah, I did know that. You got it. So, but it's just the moment and the magnitude and the adversity facing a game. So, like, the adversity at South Dakota State in the second half of him losing a game is slightly different than that on Sunday Night Football in front of 100,000 people in Dallas. And it's just, I feel like once things kind of start to roll negatively, Carson hasn't yet had the ability to step outside, whether it's a meeting or on the sideline or in the huddle, and just kind of say, guys, I got this. Relax. Like, and just Nick Foles had that aura about him of, it's fine. We're going to go down and score. Like, one play at a time. If we get 3 yards on this play, that's fantastic, guys. Excellent job. We're going to regroup and we're going to try to do it again. Not like, it just, everything seems so tense and so just rushed and just forced with Wentz playing the quarterback position, and it shouldn't be with a man of his talent and decision making. And that's really the end thing I'm trying to get at, guys, as I'm really, really rambling here and rolling. None of this is on my paper. This is all off the cuff. So if I'm all over the place, just stick with me here just a little further until I kind of get to a point, or at least I hope I get to an end point here. But with all the talent and the opportunity that Carson Wentz has, and the offensive mind which we thought Doug Peterson was, and which Andy Reid was, and which he's grown up, it's just, it continues to blow my mind that they just can't find rhythm offensively, and they don't even have like spurts of rhythm. Like, there's not even a quarter where it's like bang, 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 oh, that was it, and then all of a sudden it disappears again. It never shows up. And honestly, the first drive against Dallas, here to get to my first note, but they were moving the first couple plays. Doug takes the ball, not the smartest decision in my eyes, but it showed, hey, I'm going to be aggressive. We're not going to start slow here. We're going to start out scoring and take the lead. Well, you obviously don't think Dallas Goedert's going to fumble the ball on the third play of the game, lead to a touchdown. Next drive, sack fumble, lead to a touchdown. I mean, literally, the note here I have is 2 fumbles on 7 plays for the Eagles. So rip the offense all you want for that. But on the flip side, two touchdowns in 8 plays for the Cowboys offense. And the only reason it was 8 plays and not 7 was because they said Elliott was down at the half-yard line when I'm not sure he was early in the football game. So who can you blame more for this slow start? Your offense, 2 turnovers in 7 plays, or your defense, allowing 2 touchdowns in 7 plays? Yes, it's short fields. Yes, so I think it's more offense than defense. But hold them to a field goal, guys. Even if it's 10. I mean, if you're out of there 6-0 and you got 2 turnovers as the Eagles, you're going, holy cow, we've dodged a heck of a bullet here, man. We're one possession away from winning this football game. Instead, the defense can't make a play after the offense screws up, and you're down 14-0, and that game was over. That game was over at 14-0. The vibes off of the Philadelphia bench, the vibes off the Dallas bench. Dallas was going, hey, we're cool. We don't stink. Maybe we're not as bad as losing to the winless Jets, who got hammered by the Patriots later, last night. They didn't know that, but it just goes to show, not a good football team, the New York Jets. And they beat the Cowboys. The Eagles, yes, they're losing, but they're playing a good football team, so they can lose these games. And just, there was no fight whatsoever from this Eagles team. And that just gets back to the identity. Like, who is the leader of this team? Who is it? Please comment out there, guys. Who is the leader of this football team? Because if it's offense and you're saying Carson Wentz, we got a little bit of an issue there. Because once again, I feel the need to bring it up, but not kind of get into it too much. But over the past 12 to 16 months, 3 different times, an offensive player has come out, whether his last name is anonymous or known, has come out and badmouth the quarterback, Carson Wentz, and came out last week, hey, even Peyton Manning knows when to check it down. A few years back, he's throwing at Ertz too often. And then the huge Philly Voice article about how people don't like Wentz as a person or don't think he's a good leader, and people liked Foles. And that's what I'm saying. Listen, I don't think it's a problem. There's 50 people in the locker room. You're not going to be best friends with all of them. There's going to be 3, 5, 6 people who can't stand you as a person. It's just the way it works. I mean, human beings just don't like other humans for whether it's a good reason or bad reason. It's just not going to happen, especially with the diversity that's in a football locker room. Not to get into it, but the Christian boy from North Dakota may not connect with Deshaun Jackson and a few other individuals from that upbringing, and that's fine. That's understood. But there needs to be a mutual respect for each other in the locker room and knowledge that you're both putting together your best effort to try to win the football game. And that's where if somebody goes to the media, hey, I'm going to leak this, don't tell him it was me, he sucks, he's got to check the ball down. Like, the fact that he thinks it's okay or just doesn't even bring it up and goes to the media first is the problem. Not what he's saying. It's not what he's saying is the problem. People argue all the time in football. We see a spat on the sideline and, oh my God, the team chemistry, look at them fighting. It's football, ladies and gentlemen. It's one of the most emotional sports on the planet. You're going to argue with people you literally love because you want it right and they think you're wrong. It just happens. It's what happens in football. So they're screaming at each other behind closed doors during film because he's calling him out for doing something wrong. He's calling him out, and that's fine. That's how it works. That's how you get better. That's called accountability. There's no accountability when you text a reporter and say, hey, tell him Mr. Anonymous says this guy's got to pick it up. Dude, tell him to his face, okay? Grow a set, walk up to the guy and say, dude, we got to figure this out, man. Like, you're not as good as you think you are, or you need to, wipe that smile off your face. Whatever the conversation is, pull it behind closed doors and have it man to man. You're grown men, guys. Come on, like this leak stuff. And that's where it just gets to kind of the bigger picture of just the vibes around the team as a whole are not good. And everything you're hearing is just not good. It's a leaked anonymous. It's Deshaun Jackson has started to walk, and it's not that bad. But I think they did say he was running on land. That was a positive update. So next time you're running, if you're on land, just know that that's positive because you could be running in water or something, to get back healthy. So I'm going to take a breath here. I'm going to take a sip of water, ladies and gentlemen. So give me 1 second, regroup. Like I said, this is a therapy session. So that was a solid 12 minutes of just on and on. So we're going to take a pause. I'm going to breathe. We're going to take a sip of water, and then we're going to discuss where we go from here. First off, few adjustments were made on the roster. A few for playing time and then a few on the roster. First of all, Sidney Jones. Doug Peterson, once again, I appreciate you listening to the podcast. Howie Roseman, please, rate and review the pod because Sidney Jones didn't play a snap. They literally had a guy, Jalen Mills, coming off a broken foot who hadn't played a football game in a calendar year. I think it was literally 363 days, so over a year. And not only is it a broken foot, but think about that. It's a foot. You can't condition on a broken foot. What are you, riding the stationary bike? The guy got off the couch on a broken foot after a year and was like, yeah, I'm in game shape. Let's do it. That's cool. Yeah, I'll run with Amari Cooper. No problem. And the Eagles coach were like, yes, you're our best option. That's how bad everybody else is. That you, sir, who can't even run as of a week ago, is now our best corner. And that tells you where Sidney Jones is on the standings. Not only that, but the fact that they put in Craig James voluntarily over Sidney Jones just goes to show this guy's buried in their eyes. And you got to figure it out in practice, man. It's the only way you're going to get back on the field. The reason people don't play on Sundays and you continue to yell at him, why isn't he playing? Why isn't J.J. Arcega-Whiteside playing instead of Mac Hollins? The reason, ladies and gentlemen, is because he's sucking in practice. That's why. If he was being good at practice, you get the chance to play. That's how it works, okay? They don't just play people because, he was here longer or he's a higher draft pick. They play them because they show best during the week in practice, whether it's mental mistakes, physical mistakes, all of the above. There's a reason why JJ's not on the field. It's not because, he's better and they're just sitting him. It's either he doesn't know the route combinations, they don't trust him in knowing the formations, or he's not there. He just can't get open. So for everybody calling for changes, there's usually a reason why they are not made. And, that's one of them. So everybody yelling at Arcega, he's got to pick it up in practice before he gets out there on the field and does it. So they released Orlando Scandrick. surprise, honestly, after he had that strip sack return touchdown the week before against the Jets. Now, I know it was the Jets, but it was a heck of a play, and he didn't look that bad. Apparently, maybe he's not buying in. One of those guys that's showing up late or something. I don't know. But they also cut Akeem Spence, who they traded for earlier from the Dolphins when Malik Jackson went down. So thanks for your service, Akeem, this past 4 weeks. But they signed defensive tackle Anthony Rush and defensive tackle Albert Huggins. Rush is off the Raiders practice squad and Huggins off the Texans practice squad. So the merry-go-round that is the Eagles' defensive interior line continues this week with Mr. Rush and Mr. Huggins replacing Mr. Spence. Tune in this Sunday for next week's episode of Who the Hell's Playing Defense for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's just, guys, it's wild. And not, okay, so the D-line, I just made a joke, merry-go-round. Well, let's look at the linebackers. Our 3 starters on Sunday, TJ Edwards, Grugier Hill, and Nate Gary. Undrafted, former 6th rounder by the Patriots, not even us, and a former 5th rounder who played safety in college and was converted to a linebacker. You don't think we're missing Jordan Hicks, ladies and gentlemen? That's a name I haven't heard anybody speak of saying, hey, maybe we should have brought that guy back. You know, they let him go because he's had injury concerns. He hasn't been able to play more than 10, 12 games. But when the guy plays, he's a stud. And none of these guys are any good. Nigel Bradham's out. They cut Zach Brown. I mean, these are the people we're running with. Undrafted 6th and 5th round picks who didn't even play linebacker in their past life. And it's just, oh my God. And that just gets back to drafting and Howie Roseman and the overall big picture. But like I said, 3 and 4. We're going to stay positive. We're going to move forward here, okay? We're going to stay positive. Back end of the schedule, 4 and 1. That's with a loss to the Cowboys. Can't lose that game anymore. Home game against the Cowboys, got to split with the Cowboys. You lose that game, you're done. Okay, even if you do go 4 and 1. So that means 5 and 0 in my eyes. Giants twice, although they probably dump one of the Giants just because they're freaking Eagles, but beat the Giants twice, Redskins, Dolphins, Cowboys, 5 and 0. That puts us at 8 and 4 right now. That means we got to go 2 and 2 over these next 4 games. We got the Bills, the Bears, the Patriots, and the Seahawks. These next 2 games are big ones, ladies and gentlemen, because the Bills, 5 and 1, yes, struggled with the Miami Dolphins on Sunday at home. I know it's a divisional game, but Miami stinks, okay? Just not good at football. So the fact that that one was close, maybe they were overlooking them. I don't know. But I think Buffalo's winnable. I think it's going to be a close game just because I don't think Jared Allen can blow out the Eagles. I think Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins can blow out the Eagles if you give them the opportunity. But I'm not sure Jared Allen can do that. So I think we're going to get a close football game that, based on turnovers, penalties, a late play or two, is going to go either way. Obviously, the Eagles have been losing those games more than they've been winning them. So you got to think Buffalo's got a good chance, hence, them being the slight favorite. But overall, that's going to be a football game the Eagles are going to have a chance to win. Whether they're going to win it, I don't know. My head and heart tell me no, based on what we've seen. And, don't be stupid, Kev, just because you're an Eagles fan and say yes. Every statistical, every factual thing you're looking at says no. So, but then you get the 3 and 3 Bears, who may be a bigger disappointment than the Eagles right now. I mean, they were favorites of the NFC, even according to Vegas. 12 and 4 last year. Hell, the Eagles were only 9 and 7. So, the Bears got better. They're 3 and 3. That game's in Philadelphia. Trubinsky hasn't played well. I think the Eagles are ripe for a good one there because obviously the locals are not going to be pleased off of 3 straight road games, even if they do win that game in Buffalo, coming back 1 and 2 on this road trip. They're going to need that game. So, huge game Sunday. Huge. If they get that one, come home Chicago, get that one. Then you go into the bye week and you're 5 and 4. It's okay. All is well. And look at that, the sun's coming up tomorrow, and then even if you go 1 and 1, you're 4 and 5 into the bye week. Maybe you get D-Jack back. You could steal a game there. So not all hope is lost, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I'm saying. Hang in there. Howie season's coming up. We're going to get a trade. Just briefly here, these last 2 minutes, a couple of targets. They're talking wide receiver. Obviously, Emmanuel Sanders, his name's come up from the Broncos. Robbie Anderson from the Jets, another name. However, Mohamed Sanu going from the Falcons to the Patriots for a second-round pick, I believe it was today or yesterday. Not good for the price range of the market, guys. Sanu, I'd have given up a 4th, 5th. I mean, Golden Tate was a 3rd. Maybe a late 3rd, early 4th, not a 2nd. My God. So if he's getting a 2nd, Sanders or Anderson's going to be a 2nd. And I don't know if we can give that up because we're not very good. I don't think we're a wide receiver away from winning the Super Bowl. Do you guys think that's fair? You think that's fair out there? That's not that outlandish. That's saying, hey, if we add Robbie Anderson, all of a sudden we're Super Bowl favorites? I don't think so. So I'm not going higher than a 4 or a 5 because this team needs to reload and regroup quickly because they're getting old and they're getting old fast. Jason Peters going down, Darren Sproles going down, Nigel Bradham going down, Deshaun Jackson going down. None of these guys are young chickens, okay? None of them are puppies running around. So they're not going to show up any younger next year, and we're going to have to replace them with people who we thought would, such as Sidney Jones. He's not the future anymore. Ronald Darby's gone. Jalen Mills is gone. Our whole cornerbacks are gone. They're going to be totally different next year unless two of them figure it out. But overall, guys, like I said, Eagles, Bills. Bills are 22nd ranked in scoring offense. Eagles are 20th in total defense. So something's got to give there. Low scoring affair. I don't think the Eagles are going to score points. Buffalo's defense is rock solid. But like I just said, I don't think Buffalo's going to score a ton of points. So my predictions, 23-17 Bills. 3 field goals, a couple touchdowns for them, but not a lot of offense for the Eagles unless they can create turnovers and whatnot. So that's it for today's episode, ladies and gentlemen, though, as we creep up here on 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesday, October 22nd. Once again, I appreciate everybody listening out there to Too Close to Call on USALA Media. Do me a favor, if you didn't check it out live, you can always rewatch us on YouTube, Too Close to Call on the USALA Media page. I also posted on my personal page on Facebook, as well as Instagram, Twitter, all of the above, Too Close to Call, Kevin Mahalik. So we appreciate you listening out there. We appreciate all the shares, all the likes, all the comments, everything that's going on. Hang in there with us, everybody. Philly sports is going to turn the corner real soon. We're getting there. Sixers throw it up on Wednesday. Fly Guys turning it back around. The Phils are hopefully going to have a manager by next week. Give us something to talk about. And then another Eagles game hopefully will be a better conversation than we've had the past couple of weeks. But that wraps it up for me here. Kevin Mahalik, Too Close to Call. Appreciate everybody watching, listening, all of the above, everything you do for us. Once again, thank you very much. That'll do it for our time this hour. Once again, appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys next week. Peace.